What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another SK Wealth Academy podcast. How the ruling class has robbed us of happiness and three immediate things we can do to reclaim it. So I'm going to give you the three things at the end of this video, so please stay tuned for the entire video. Now, it's no coincidence that nearly all governments around the world levied the same type of draconian lockdown mandates that have been scientifically proven to elevate levels of stress, anxiety, depression, and anger. And in my opinion, as you know, if you've been watching my podcast, lockdowns that are not scientifically based in response to the COVID virus. So as human beings, we're not meant to be isolated from one another. Now, Dr. Fauci of the World Health Organization, at one point, I believe this was months ago, but he said the handshake will forever be banned because of this virus. It's so absurdly stupid. So I've actually been introduced to new people by current friends in the past couple months that tried to give me that dumbass elbow bump that Fauci recommended instead of a handshake. But my intelligent friends are not afraid to greet me with a hug, and I still will greet all my friends with a hug, even sometimes force a hug upon them, even if they don't want it, because I know that the threat of this virus is very, very minimal to anyone, any of my peers that are perfectly healthy and have perfectly functioning immune systems. Now, Governor Cuomo of New York has turned the whole state of New York into the real life town depicted in that fictional film Footloose. And I never saw I know there is a remake of the old one, but the old Footloose with Philly native Kevin Bacon in 1984 is the real version of Footloose in my mind. So now that we have all this expendable time on our hands because of this lockdown, you can go check out that film if you've never seen it. And if you see it, you would think, without having the context of what's going on today, like, what kind of idiocy is this where dancing is banned? But Governor Cuomo says no dancing at weddings, no dancing at bars, as if the key to controlling the spread of the virus is dancing. Because we all know that the virus won't infect people that are miserable, but it will only infect you if you're happy enough to dance. So that, therefore, Governor Cuomo said no dancing and no infections. In any event, the key to their control over us is to make us feel disconnected from each other, even from our friends, but even, the regular pleasantries we go through in life. I've been to cities where even almost all strangers will say hello, good morning, how are you? No one's doing that anymore because they're all wearing their masks. They all feel shut off. Everyone's like a faceless face now. Even Zoom conferences are entirely an inadequate substitute for the real human contact that all of us need on a regular basis in our social interactions with one another. So Zoom conferencing, video conferencing is really not even a proper social interaction with someone else. And even the ruling class's success of completely isolating production and consumption habits that distance us from the very characteristics and qualities that give our humanity has progressed, I think, over the past several decades without being really noticed by anyone except maybe anthropologists that study human behavior on a daily basis. So what do I mean by this? Well, for one, let's just talk about the food we consume. Though I'm not a hunter myself, I do have friends that hunt, and in speaking to them about how they're perceived as hunters, and my friends, they never engage in trophy hunting, they never engage in sport hunting. In other words, they will consume completely all the animals that they hunt and kill. But all of them still have stories about people going social justice warrior on them and telling them, hey, hunting is so cruel, you shouldn't hunt. And And in speaking to them, I've discovered this is just not coming from vegans, but it's also coming from other meat eaters, astoundingly. So what I've learned from my friends that hunt is that animals are culled by hunters are older animals, not the younger animals, because they leave the younger animals alone to reproduce unless there's an explosion of an invasive species that doesn't belong there. Like I think Texas has a problem with like wild pigs, so you can kill all the pigs you want because they're just out of control. But if the animals are not an invasive species that have overrun an eco habitat and are destroying the ecosystem because they're invasive and don't belong there, hunters actually likely provide a much more humane death for the animal, because as an animal becomes, its physical prowess becomes much less due to old age, they're going to suffer a much more savage death, usually at the jaws and claws of a wild predator than a hunter would give the animal with a very quick death. Secondly, meat eaters knew anything about factory farming practices, and if they shop at their local grocery stores, they most likely are buying a lot of factory farmed animals, in which their practices like live pigs will be dipped in boiling vats of water while still alive to strip them of their hair. Chickens and cattle will be packed into such high density into tight spaces and fed overfed, so they can be slaughtered much earlier than the normal natural process, because it's more profitable for factory farms to do this. And so a lot of these animals just have terrible qualities of lives. And some of my hunter friends have even said that some of these people that criticize them and say hunting is cruel, they said they have been out to dinner with these people and seen them eat foie gras. Like, that's how disconnected these people are from production to consumption. It's astounding to me. And they don't understand the factory farms that a lot of these animals, like I said, like chickens and cattle, they wallow in ankle deep poop for most of their lives. Like, they have very poor quality of lives from the time they're born to the time they're culled to go to the grocery store. And a disconnect between the behavior of production and the behavior of consumption is what turns people into blathering idiot social justice warriors that have no idea about the falsehoods of arguments they make. And this just does not apply to food and agriculture. It also applies to just regular daily inanimate objects that we use every day or consume, like clothes, electronics, because again, the links between production and consumption have been severed by the parasitic ruling class that lord over us and govern us with these ridiculous laws, like Governor Cuomo of New York. So you will find advocates of child rights shopping at some of the worst abusers of child labor laws, like disposable fashion giants H&M and Zara and so on. So this great disconnect between production and consumption in nearly every phase of our lives is ultimately a very bad thing for the intellectual advancement and progression of humanity. Because even in social media, which produces a lot of commoners who are the worst of people that exist on planet Earth, the type of people that search the dark web for human trafficking sites and illicit activities, they also, the reason why they say such horrific things when they comment on social media is because they're totally disconnected between the production of their comment and the consumption of that comment. Because like in the past, I know we've all heard of these instances in which teenagers have bullied other teenagers into committing suicide. They'll write messages on their YouTube videos like, "You don't deserve to live, go kill yourself, the world would be a better place if you were dead," stuff like that. And the production of that cumulative damage to the undeveloped mind of the teen that is consuming those messages online eventually has led to multiple suicides happening out of these incidents. And again, the total disconnect between the production of that comment and the consumption of the comment by the end user is what allows commenters to be so hateful on social media sites. And although I criticize a lot of teens for doing this, a lot of adults act in this same undeveloped, inhumane kind of manner of expression. And for some reason, I've been really fortunate, if you're one of my patrons watching this, to attract the best of the best segment of people in cyberspace for the most part with most of my social media. But it's probably because I don't have a very big reach at this point, since nearly every social media platform actively shadow bans my content, and that people have to be really interested in what I have to say to find me in the first place. Like, for example, Twitter, I almost never go there and post anything. It's everything that's posted is all automated. So it's like I upload something on my news site and it gets posted on Twitter. Upload a new video, it automatically gets posted on Twitter. But I noticed for a long time that before I even were making these automated posts, that probably for a span of like 13 years, I definitely was being shadow banned in some way from reaching any other people that already did not follow me, because for like 12 or 13 years, my followers remained between like 3,100 and 3,030 or somewhere around there. And then interestingly enough, when I did go post, actually actively post more items on Twitter, I saw like the numbers start dropping, and it actually dropped below like 3,000 followers for the first time, I think, in the last like 15 years. I didn't even post anything for a while, still remained above. And then when I start posting, which means you should get more subscribers or followers, it actually went below. And then when I stopped actively posting again, just went back to normal, then sometimes I'll come back and I'll check and there'll be like 100 new followers. So there's definitely a lot of shadow banning on my social media. So I found that people have to be truly interested, because I have to search really hard to find me in the first place. So that's probably why I just attracted like the best segment of people in cyberspace for the most part on my social media, because the average troll that lives on social media will never find my content. So as this descent into total disconnectedness from each other has been gradual over the past several decades, it's extremely important that we are aware of these ongoing efforts of the parasitic ruling class to separate us. And even in response to the virus, with their blatant in our face measures of lockdowns, social distancing, zero fun, no dancing, no handshakes, no hugs, no physical contact, no eye contact when we pass each other on the streets. What's been missed completely by so many is the fact that one of the major missions of their lockdowns is to disconnect us from one another. So let's start today, as I said, with a promise to counteract this very dark goal of the ruling class. I want to leave you and end this video right now with a challenge, with 3 challenges for all of you to do this week. If there's anyone you care about a lot that you have not checked up on in the last 30 days, and that should apply to all of us, because sometimes we all get busy. Even during my lockdown, there's sometimes I forget, out of sight, out of mind. We don't get to see in person the people we care about. I'm not even in the country where I have like my closest friends and most of my friends. I'm in an entirely different country. So that's even more out of sight, out of mind. I haven't seen some of my closest friends in almost going upon like over half a year right now. So because of the travel lockdown. So call a person that you care about that you haven't checked up on in the last 30 days. See how they're doing. That's number 1. Challenge number 2, when you meet a friend this week, and if you've been self-isolating to the point where you don't even see one friend a week, then make sure you immediately change that behavior, because it's entirely unhealthy to your psyche. Make plans to see at least one friend in person this week, and when you see that friend, give that friend a hug, not a stupid elbow bump or a stupid nod of the head. We as humans all need physical contact to maintain a healthy psyche. And number 3, this week, promise to learn the process of how a product that you use frequently, whether that product is makeup if you're a woman, food, clothes, electronics, or any other product that you may frequently use. Learn the process of how that product is produced. What nation produces that product? What is the age of the people producing that product? Is it produced by adults? And if so, is it produced by basically indentured servitude, like Apple iPhones in China? How much are the people paid per day that produce your product? Hopefully it's not children producing your product. Who makes the bulk of profits from the production of your product? Is it the people producing it or the corporate CEOs? So that in itself will give you a better connectedness to the products that we all consume and to how they are produced. So if you can pledge to do this, I guarantee that these 3 simple tasks will not only make you a better person, but will contribute to the quality of your life as well. Because you may find, because I've challenged other people with these 3 simple tasks, and they tell me it actually triggered more and more behavior in their lives that actually enhance the quality, purpose of their lives tremendously. So if I'm not asking you to do these 3 things for me, do it for yourself, because you care about remaining connected to this web of life as the ruling elite class try to separate and disconnect us all. Learn more about the connections between production and consumption that will increase all of our levels of humanity. And if you finish listening to this and say, I will do this, please take 10 seconds to write below in the comment section 6 simple words. I pledge to be more connected. Just write that in the comments. I pledge to be more connected, and then do the 3 tasks. Because I want to get some feedback from, are any of the videos I'm making actually of value to any of you? Are any of you actually acting upon this? So if you can do this, which takes 10 seconds of your life, literally, this will give me some idea that, hey, at least a handful of people, feel some kind of connection to the ideas I'm promoting and will actually take action. Because as you know, I'm all about action. You have to take action in this life to improve your life. You just can't think. You just can't think positive. You can't do a stupid vision board or just say every day, I want this in my life and it's going to come. It requires action. So again, I pledge to be more connected. Okay, thanks so much for watching. As always, remain intensely curious and have a beautiful day. Take care.